Hey, Vicky Kelty back again. And today is focusing on Spanish. So, if you have ever felt uncomfortable sending voice messages in another language to someone, or if you felt like you needed maybe a little more practice with that tricky grammar, then this episode is for you. First off, we're going to do my study step. So I dedicated 6 minutes to solo speaking practice where I was recording myself. I put in a good 50 minutes of grammar learning and practicing. And I had multiple conversations with feedback from my husband. And for leisure time, I restarted a mystery book that has been collecting dust on my shelf. And I'm up to chapter 5 now. Technically, I've only read one chapter though, because I was on chapter 4, but whatever. I'm on chapter 5, guys. And I sent at least 11 audios that I counted, maybe more. Audio messages in Spanish. So, yeah, I am definitely practicing what I am going to be preaching about. And let's start with my solo speaking practice. So, I mentioned that I want to be focusing on using my own questions from my voice message speaking practice program that I offer for English learners. And I have to do it a little bit differently because, as I've mentioned, it's me using it. And when my English learners use it, they are having a conversation with me using the questions. And the way that I am using it is I am talking about the question just on my own. So that's what I put some time into. And I didn't count it as leisure time simply because I decided to do a self-evaluation afterwards. So I really reflected on how that process of answering the question went, where I noticed hesitation, as I mentioned in another episode, that's when I know that, oh, that's an area that I don't feel as comfortable. I might want to take another look at that. And what happened afterwards is I decided to message friends in Spanish. So I found it uncomfortable to do. And I noticed that discomfort showed up by me sending multiple messages. I'm sorry, not sending multiple messages, but re-recording my message before I sent it. And so that is definitely something that I get to work on, this discomfort with sending messages in Spanish to my friends. Because since I'm in Spain, I do have an opportunity here to connect with people in Spanish very frequently. And I noticed that I was sometimes taking advantage of texting in Spanish, but that I wasn't taking advantage of sending audio messages. Yeah, so I am actually someone who loves to send audio messages. And I said, Vicky, why are you not doing this with the people that you message on a regular basis? Is it okay for you to send messages to them? Why not give it a try if they are somebody because sometimes people don't enjoy receiving messages. They don't like to talk through that format of audio messages. But I don't know whether they're that type of person or not until I give it a try. And so I did. And I was really excited by the outcome because people responded back with audio messages. And I'm like, okay, I have now opened that door and basically let them know I'm cool with receiving audio messages. They've responded with audio messages. So they have in turn let me know that they're also cool with audio messages. So now we are on the same page. And yeah, well, I'll keep you updated on how that goes. If I continue opening that door of discomfort and seeing how that progresses. Now I do think that what I mentioned about having to, sorry, I shouldn't say having. I chose to re-record my messages. I could have sent them exactly as they were. They didn't have anything wrong with them. And if they had some kind of mistake or a pause or I stumbled over a word, that is completely normal. That happens when we're talking. You'll hear that in these podcast episodes because I'm trying to keep them as real as I can. And I do a little bit of editing with them, and I do have notes that I am using to try and keep me on track because sometimes I go off on tangents. If you know me, you know that to be true. And so I chose to re-record and I said, oh no, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. I think that that's completely normal, especially when you're doing something that you find a little uncomfortable. And as you do it more frequently, I expect that need, that internal need to re-record will decrease. And I know that to be true for my students because with my one-on-one students, we do a lot of audio. I hesitate over the word a lot. I'm like, well, regularly. So with my one-to-one students, I offered the opportunity to send audio messages, obviously with the voice message speaking practice that is solely focused on sending audio messages. So getting into that habit of sending it to me on the first go is something that I'm helping my students work towards. And so I thought, well, as I said at the beginning, practice what you preach, Vicki. So I'm definitely taking a page from my own book as I work to feel comfortable sending audio messages on the first take. The first thing you say is what gets sent. And the other thing that I noticed from my solo speaking experience was that the question that I had selected had me using the subjunctive. And I really noticed that that was something that I didn't feel 100% at ease using. I was having lots of doubts coming up about whether did in fact need the subjunctive in certain parts or not. And so I decided that I would, like my self-evaluation showed me, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on. I have found the grammar point that I want to review and to dig into more. So that's what I then took the time to practice with my study hall session that I did live on YouTube. So you can check out how that went because I have the pre and post details of that session. But in short, I reviewed the grammar. I chose a bit of subjunctive to review. And then I did a bit of practice with writing afterwards, because remember I said I want to focus on speaking and writing with my Spanish, because those are the two areas that I don't spend as much time with. And so I did focused practice with writing, and I also had conversations with my husband, like just making sure that I was finding ways to use subjunctive, that I was paying attention and being real intentional about, okay, can I slip some subjunctive in here, or do I need subjunctive here? And so just really paying attention to that. And then confirming with him, did I use that right? That was a sentence that needed subjunctive, right? And that sounded natural. Like that's how you would say it, right? And so then he was able to support me with that and help basically build my confidence with it and remind me, okay, yeah, I do know this information. I can use it correctly. This is going well. Really good. And I just really, really want you to notice what I said. I reviewed the grammar, and then what did I do? I did practice with it. So I took action. I didn't just study, because that doesn't count. Sorry, but it doesn't. You have to take some sort of action. So I'm going to throw this out here. What grammar point is asking for review? What is something that you have been using that you don't feel as confident with, and you want to just give it a nice little review, make sure that you understand the finer points of it? Okay, you've decided? You got your grammar point? Okay. Now that you know what grammar you're going to focus on, after you give it a little study time, how will you take action and use the grammar that you reviewed? I've given you some ways that I've used it, and now you get to think about how you will be using it. And please do not skip that step of taking action and practicing it, putting it into real life practice in some way. It can be on your own. When I was writing, there wasn't somebody else there. I was just writing on a piece of paper. That counts. But only studying it, in my book, in my humble opinion, doesn't count. Because it's not going to build your confidence because you aren't putting it into practice. So that is I will get off my soapbox. And I also just want to add one other little caveat is don't put all your eggs into one basket. So what I mean is that for me, I've been focusing on subjunctive. The slippery slope that I could easily go down is to only focus on subjunctive, just to keep going over it again and again and again until it is absolutely perfect. But the issue is that it's never going to be absolutely perfect. I'm never going to feel 100% secure with my subjunctive. That's why I've practiced it so many times over these decades of learning Spanish. And I think that is something to be aware of. And that is exactly why in the voice message speaking practice, I don't do only questions that focus on the past simple or only questions that focus on phrasal verbs. You have a variety of questions because I want your English conversations to be well-rounded, because that's what conversations are. You don't know what's going to come up in a conversation. It's not only going to be a conversation that has you, like here in Spain, I'm not only going to get into conversations that have me using subjunctive all the time. So if I only know subjunctive, then it's going to be detrimental to my ability to have conversations with people because I'm just not going to be able to do it. I don't have enough knowledge if I only have one grammar point that I have mastered. Okay. So I just really want you to make sure that you are changing up the grammar that you're focusing on. And here comes your second challenge. This is the last action point that I'm going to leave you with. I want you to make a list of grammar points that you want to improve on for your own English learning. And then you can start sequencing through those, choose one of them, and let me know which one you have decided to start with. And remember to cycle to the next one. You can always come back, but be sure that you're giving ample time to each grammar point. And I say that to you, and I'm listening as well, because I will be moving on from subjunctive and focusing on something else with next practice. So thanks for tuning in. And let me know if you have any comments, questions, or things that you want to hear me reflect on. You can email me at hola@vickykelty.com. All right. Happy learning. Ciao.